Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Hold the Ball, HTB. I'm here with a very, very special guest, very honored, very privileged to actually be here with Steve Mascord, who has been kind enough to hop in here and talk to us about his book, Two Tribes, and all that stuff there. But I'm not going to introduce him. I'll let him introduce himself. So over to you.
I'm just a washed-up old journo, mate. Born in Sydney, raised in Wollongong, stood on the hill at the Steelers for a few years, got a job at AAP at the end of the 80s covering footy, dream job, and went to Sydney Morning Herald in time to go on the last kangaroo tour, the last proper kangaroo tour. So that was pretty cool, good timing. And then I went to cover the Super League War when I was at Sydney Morning Herald. And then I went to the Telegraph from 2005 to 2008. So it was a big day that day because it was the Kiwis won the World Cup.
Yep.
Chinese Democracy by Guns N' Roses finally came out. We promised it for 20 years, and it was my last day at News Limited. So that was all in one day. So so then I went to then I went and worked for myself, and I worked at Rugby League Week for a while. And now I live in England, and I'm sort of starting again as a middle-aged guy. So and here we are. You're right up to date.
Awesome. Look, before we sort of dive into the book, you did mention you were raised in Wollongong. So what are your experiences of rugby league growing up, and how did you sort of fall in love with the sport and that stuff there?
Yeah, well, it was the biggest game in town in Wollongong, as I think most of your viewers would imagine. 3 Test captains and 20 internationals by the time the Steelers came in. And I was saying to someone just yesterday, my favourite colour as a little kid was red. So my favourite team was St George, and I couldn't make it Norths. They had more red, but they never won anything. So Norths are my second favourite team. And then the biggest, brightest, reddest team of all joined the competition, and it was my local team, the Steelers. So it was a really easy decision as a 12 or 13-year-old to go and follow the Steelers, and I was like totally in. I mean, I went to their first training session. I remember they went on a big long road run, and Barry Jensen went like this and emptied his nostril on the ground in front of my kid sister, and then apologised to her. That was her introduction to rugby league. So and we went to trial matches, went to the first away game. We used to get on the bus and go to the away game. So we were totally in with rugby league, and you forget it was a different age then. Not only no internet, but no mobile phones, and we all lived and died on the Rugby League Week and the big league every week. And I was just looking at the fact that the first calculator only came out 10 years before that. So it was a really different world. But we used to go to training. I used to catch a bus in with my mates after school from Port Kembla to like Stewart Park. And we'd watch the Steelers train. So it was, it was. We were right into it, mate. Right into it. Yeah.
You mentioned the Rugby League Week, and I used to be an avid buyer of their stuff. I used to consume it regularly. It's funny how they don't really do they don't do that anymore, do they?
Yeah, there's still print magazines. Unfortunately in Australia and New Zealand. I noticed on the Great Britain tour as well, the fans over here couldn't believe that there were no programs for any of those tests. So print media, I guess if you're an environmentalist, and stuff, and it's good for the environment that there's no more programs or magazines. But over here in England, they do cling to it, and all the clubs will have a program. I mean, I know that last night Featherston played Lee, and I'm pretty sure they would have had a program. And 40/20 magazine is back after. It was gone for during the pandemic. Rugby League World magazine. I promised them online I was going to subscribe. You reminded me. They're back, so they kind of do cling to their print media a little bit more here in the UK than they do in Australia and New Zealand. And but it got very hard, mate, because at one point they were printing. This is Bauer when they took over. They were printing Rugby League Week over the weekend, so the stories would be on Friday and it'd come out on Monday, and there'd be no mention of the weekend games, and it was like, and they thought that was sustainable. So, and then even when it would come out on Thursday, you'd do most of the magazine before the weekend, and then on Monday morning, you'd have just Monday to chase around for some fresh yarns from the weekend. and anything you bought in from the matches at the weekend. And then you have to wait 3 days for mag to come out and make sure no one else is going to get your story. And there was so much competition that it was very hard to keep a yarn up your sleeve and it still be fresh on Thursday. But a bit of a controversial opinion on my part. I can see it's kind of becoming a bit of a cartel again in Australia with the news and Channel 9. They've managed to shut down the NRL Digital. They seem to be angry at anyone who does content for free. If you're, for instance, let's say I'm the NRL media manager and I want to have a big day for all the alternative media like yourselves, right? Yep. And I want to make players available for you and for Zero Tackle and all these websites. And there's no way I would do that because my rights holders will push back. My rights holders will say, we don't want you doing that. We pay your wages for our TV money. And we don't want you giving away content. That's why we made you shut down NRL.com. So I know I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, mate. But I see it as still a bit of a I see a cartel being created a little bit where now because the squeeze is on rights holding media, they're spreading their tentacles to what they claim ownership of, to claiming ownership of interviews with players, and they're claiming ownerships of open press conferences. That is what the shutting down of NRL Digital or scaling back of NRL Digital means to me. I'd love to do something over here, and I've approached people over here to have like a sort of a rugby league podcast and merchandise expo, where you basically get all the podcasters. Maybe they pay $30 for a stall, a stand, a corner, and then you get merchandisers in there, and you get the RFL officials and the Super League officials, and hopefully the clubs to send the players along, and you just do a circuit system where everyone gets a shot at talking to Ralph Rimmer, or everyone gets a shot at talking to a coach, or Adrian Lamb, or whatever. You would never do that in Australia because I'm telling you, the rights holders would put a lot of pressure on the NRL not to do it.
I hear that, and look, thanks for that as well. I think that's really interesting. We don't really dive into that side of rugby league as well, so it's always interesting to get a different sort of perspective on it. And you sort of mentioned a bit of the UK rugby league scene there. What's the atmosphere there like regarding the Super League coming up this week?
No, there's actually a lot of positivity because. Unlike it's the first time Super League's ever been on free-to-air television. So aside from the replays on BBC, gotcha. Which are next day or whatever. So Channel 4 have got 10 games this year.
Yes,
because Sky cut their rights payment in half pretty much. So they had to give something back to the game. So like last night there was a Monday night game on Premier. So that was fantastic. Previously, Sky held the rights to the championship and didn't show any games. They just warehoused them, and they showed the Summer Bash every year. So because Sky have had to give the game less money this year, the game has been able to take something back. And there's a lot of excitement on Adam Hills, the Australian comic. He's a nationally recognised figure here in this country, and he's hosting the Channel 4 coverage on Saturday. It'll be Leeds versus Warrington. So there's actually a lot of, people over here moan a lot about rugby league, but they also start off like most fans start off being quite optimistic. But I think there are reasons to be optimistic this year because the game's going to be available on different platforms. So yeah.
Understood. And look, just to add on that as well, just regarding the difference making and stuff, there's the addition of that new, the French team, Toulouse. Does that sort of help in a way or in any sort of form? Like, what are your opinions on that?
Yeah, well, I think it's obviously, I'm a big fan. I think it's wonderful. But the Super League clubs have a mentality that if you don't kind of bring away fans who buy pints and pies, then you're of limited value. And, there are a number of CEOs and chairmen of other Super League clubs who were anonymously quoted last year as saying Toulouse being promoted is a disaster because there's no, even though they are signing TV deals in France, there are not a lot of money involved and nothing coming into the central pot. And also they don't bring away fans. And in this country, it's very different. In Australia and New Zealand with the distances, we consider it our responsibility to fill our stadiums. We don't rely on visiting fans to keep our businesses alive. Yeah. But in this country, you can drive to every away ground, and the traditions are all shaped around soccer. And soccer away fans are often to the detriment and to the local police's chagrin are a big part of the business of sports clubs in this country. So they don't really get their heads around having to catch planes to away games. For them that's if we play Champions League, European League, Euro, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a domestic thing that we've got to catch a plane. No one has to do it in this country in other sports, So as a result, they just don't understand that you've got to fill your own stadium, and also they don't have the same centralisation of their business. Where the only way South Sydney can make money from South's gear is by buying a lot of it themselves and selling it in their own shop, right? Because they only get 1/16 of the NRL's merchandise income. Otherwise, the Warriors generate probably a lot more than West Tigers. Unless the Warriors sell themselves, they make the same as West Tigers. In this country, it's not like that. In this country, everyone can make anything they like, and they sell it themselves. So there's no kind of collegiate kind of we all rise attitude. They're like, oh well, we're not making any money off Toulouse gear, so there's no incentive to support them. Wigan don't make any money aside from a few small licensed products, but basically all the clubs do their own licensing. So as I said, it just means it's a survival of the fittest type thing, and it's very hard for a new club to rise and to establish its sort of brand and IP.
Understood. Look, I know this is mainly here to promote your book and talk about your book, Two Tries, but I'm sort of just really interested as to where we're going here. So I just want to sort of add something. So just regarding that, obviously I assume COVID did play a part in it, but the Toronto Wolfpack and all the noise that happened there about a year and a half or two ago, did they sort of fit in the same mold, or were they in the same boat of the reason why they were kicked out? Do you know much about what happened there?
Well, yeah, not a fair bit. I mean, there's a couple of aspects to it. I mean, one is that Toronto were bad at paying bills, and it can't be overlooked. They didn't pay bills on time. I don't know, and so they built up a lot of bad will because of that. But also Toronto didn't take any TV money out of the central pot, so they saved all the clubs a lot of money when they were alive because they didn't take any of the TV money. When Toronto couldn't travel because of COVID, they asked for a loan, I think, of maybe £10,000 each from the other clubs. And all the other clubs had saved all this money by not giving them any TV money. And they all went, no, they wouldn't give them any money. And that's because they didn't believe in the model, and they don't believe in, for the reasons I just I explained, they don't believe in expansion. I mean, one of the clubs themselves are living hand to mouth, like all rugby league clubs are living hand to mouth. But in the NRL, they have a strong structure where, if Canterbury decided to jump and call themselves after Super League War, as a result of what happened with Super League War, if Canterbury decided to jump and join another competition, the NRL will be able to set up another team called Canterbury with Canterbury's logo playing at the Canterbury's ground and taking Canterbury's players. You know what I mean? Because there's so much central control because of what we learned from the Super League War. In this country, if someone wanted to set up another competition, you wouldn't see them for dust. They'd go, because there just isn't that there isn't that sort of central control. It's a very English system where it's club based. So the clubs made decisions. Super League was the clubs, and they made decisions in their own interest. And Toronto wasn't in their own interest. In some cases, Toronto threatened to be far bigger than they could ever be. So Toronto contributed to their own demise, right, by not paying bills and doing stuff like that. But when the clubs saw an opportunity to grind them into the dust, they did. And equally, when the new owner came in, the new owner was more interested in launching his men's grooming products into the UK, and it was from what I understand, a very kind of patchy presentation that he made, and clubs that were sympathetic to, I think Leeds did vote in favour. I think Wigan was sympathetic to Toronto, but said that they couldn't vote in good conscience in favour of this proposal. So, it isn't a black and white expansionist versus traditionalist argument. There are a lot of nuances in there. You would say that post COVID and post pandemic, that a trans ocean or sea competition, as the Warriors have seen, is very hard to maintain, and the sacrifices the Warriors had to make. Toronto didn't, and rugby league in this country doesn't have the money to do what the NRL did with the Warriors. It doesn't have the TV money coming in. As I said, their TV money just got halved. So they just can't afford, and the clubs can't afford to keep crossing the Atlantic. So you would have said, despite all what I just went into, all the detail I went into, that one way or another, Toronto, wouldn't have made it through the pandemic, even if the clubs had have shelled out for them at the start.
Yeah, understood. You mentioned there the Super League wars and stuff, and I think that's probably a good segue to get straight into your book. So please feel free to blast away. Well,
no, I think the way it works is no such thing as a free lunch, right? Like I've interviewed plenty of people over the years who've had something to promote, and I don't just give them the floor. You got to ask what you want to ask and get what you want out of them. So I'd certainly, even if you hadn't have asked me about the book at all, I wouldn't have been concerned. I'm grateful for the platform and the opportunity to speak to you. But no, it's obviously it's an important year in rugby league history this year, because it's a 25th year. 25 years since we had two competitions, and on December 19 it'll be 25 years since the NRL was formed, when the ARL clubs all went to Sydney Football Stadium and voted to enter a joint venture with News Limited. It's the only year that we had two leagues in Australia, and a lot of people's I think the four groups. I'm trying to remember what they are. Four groups of rugby league fans. There's rugby league fans who are real train spotters, and they love the fact that Melbourne played Adelaide in Hobart once. And there's rugby league fans who want to forget the war completely. They just think it was bad. And there's rugby league fans who are still angry about the war, and I'm sure you run into them all the time. They'll say that Brisbane didn't really win a competition in 1997, and those test matches weren't real test matches, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Look at those stupid jumpers with big numbers on the back. And then there's Newcastle Knights fans. Who don't really care, because they had their greatest ever year that year, and they don't care about anything else. So I thought it was pretty stupid that we don't seem to be able to discuss the war. I got kind of come up with a new hashtag for the book, Do Mention the War, because we had that ad last year, didn't we? And they had with Simply the Best coming back, and they had a voiceover on the TV. I think the Trebojevic brothers were sitting in the lounge room, and the Super League war is tearing the game apart. And I think they even it upset people. They had to go back and change. Like, how can something that happened 25 years ago upset people like that? But it still does. It still does. So that's why I thought it was a good idea to do the book. And I interviewed 100 people from both sides, and tried to come to some conclusions about the main questions were, what was it about, who won, and what do we learn? So 570 pages later, here we are. The book's out.
Yeah. Awesome. And look, just while I have you, just regarding the Super League and stuff, what were some of your personal fondest memories or least fond memories of that era?
It's funny because some of the stuff, right, I didn't even put in the book because I kind of left myself out of it to an extent, not completely. I just remember it being a lot of fun. I remember, so I was 28, living in Sydney, covering the Super League War, living up at the Rocks, so I could see I think I was there. No, where was I? Anyway, I was living close to the city. And there were always, as Shane Richardson says in the book, there were always parties. The Super League War, there were always launches and parties and free T-shirts and open bars and stuff like that. So I remember, I just remember having a pretty good life. But I remember also there being angst all the time because people are kind of like trying to push their agenda. It was really the bigger. People say rugby league is full of agendas. I mean, Sonny, let me tell you something. I mean that back in 1997, people's livelihoods and the futures of their families were attached to their agendas. So they were trying really hard to fight their corner, and they didn't take kindly if something that appeared in the paper, hurt their agenda. But mind you, by 1997, people were hardened up a little bit. So you didn't get as many angry phone calls early in the morning as you would have in 95 or 96 when it was all fresh and the wounds were kind of still bloodied, But my favourite memories, I mean, I didn't come over here for the World Club Challenge, and that would have been hilarious. I would have liked to have done that. But my favourite game of the year was Hunter Mariners versus Paris Saint-Germain, because there were more Australians on the Paris Saint-Germain team than the Hunter Mariners team. And if you count Paul Marquette and Keith Beauchamp, there were more players of French extraction on the Hunter side than there was on the Paris side. And they had John Paul Young singing Lovers in the Air to this couple at halftime who proposed. This guy proposed in the mud. And there was a high trapeze artist hanging from a flying saucer, which in turn was hanging from a crane. And there were 1,200 people there. It was that was Super League. Fireworks in the daytime. And so that I guess that was one of my favorite memories. And I came over here, went on the the Australian tour, and they played at great venues. They played Wembley, Old Trafford, Elland Road, which are venues that the rugby league can't fill anymore for Test series in this country. I went to Super League Grand Final, and there were 60,000 people there. I remember the Grand Final launches. They had a parade for the Super League Grand Final. Obviously, I remember covering the ARL Grand Final. I didn't go up to Newcastle for those celebrations. That would be one of my regrets, I guess, because I probably was going away. I was probably coming away on the tour. But and that was an incredible experience covering what Newcastle did that year. And you felt like you felt like you were cheating a little bit because you had access to both sides and to the key moments on both sides. And I guess the fans cared a little bit less, so they welcomed you in a little bit more as well because they had something to sell. So I'd say the whole year, I'd say it's my favourite year in rugby league. I've been saying that, and people just look at me like I must be an idiot. But it was my favourite year in rugby league because there was two of everything. There was, there were two Australian teams, three New Zealand teams, wasn't there? There was a Tri-Series team as well. There was two grand finals. It was just a nines and a sevens. I loved it. There was just so much footy. I loved it.
Yeah. What were your thoughts at the time regarding, the Adelaide team and the WA team? What were your thoughts about those two teams there, just personally?
I loved. I was there on the bus. I was very lucky. I got on the plane in 1988 when I was still at AAP, and I was 19. They took a plane up to Williamtown, went to the first night's game. Then you went back to Williamtown. They flew to the Gold Coast. And they went to the first Giants game, and then we went back to this resort, which still there. It's now. It was in 1988. It was like the flashest, and now it's like the cheapest, but on the Gold Coast. But and then we caught the bus up to Brisbane and went to the first Broncos game, and then I then I backed up in '95. I got on the flight again, and we went to all the games. Went to the Warriors, and they held up kickoff for us in Townsville, and obviously the fireworks and everything, and at Mount Smart was stick in my mind forever. But yeah, so I was there for the birth of the Reds, and we were on the hill at King George's, or George's Park, I think it's called, on the hill, and Quayle and Arco were about to get out and do a press conference in front of the city, and it came back that it was in the Sun Herald that Super League was back on, and that the News were going to go and sign a bunch of players, and it completely ruined Quayle and Arco's day. So and then we went to the game, and the Reds had a win, and my memory is crossing the field afterwards to go to the sheds, and some kids were attacking the Red Rooster mascot, and the Paddle Pop Lion came to its rescue and beat the kids away. That's what I remember. And then I remember going to the sheds, and I don't know if I filed or it was too late, and then I remember having a beer with Steve Gillis in the bar at the Wacker there, and then the player manager, Steve Gillis, and then yeah. So I'm an expansionist, and I'm also was involved. I was there I didn't go to the first Rams game, but I went down and sort of did a feature on them before they came in, and when Rod Reddy was coach and all that, and I remember in 1988, Neil Whitaker was the CEO of the ARL, and he went down and he had to answer questions about will the Rams be here next year, and Balmain. The Rams had just beaten Balmain by 50 points, and Neil Whitaker was a former Balmain hooker, so everyone kind of knew that this guy's team was going to survive, and the local team was going to get the arse. And he was the boss, and he had to sort of deadbat all the questions. So that really sticks in my mind. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of obviously both clubs, and I hope they come back.
Yeah, look, I do too. There was also just quickly as well. There was also like a recent sale regarding some Adelaide Rams jerseys that closed. Do you want to talk about that as well?
Yeah, no. So the funny thing about coming over here as a middle-aged man is I could be a little kid again because I was just starting. I guess my first, I guess my first day here, I just kind of woke up. I wasn't on the couch. I was getting on my Wi-Fi. I came out to the couch and woke up, and I was, what can I do? What'd be fun, And one of those things was I always thought, well, bring back the Rams, bring back the Reds, bring back the blah blah blah. So and I started a little merch business when I was here with a guy called Phil Brown, and so I went and registered the IP of Adelaide Rams and Northern Eagles, and 2 years later, 3 years later, it was time to actually produce some stuff. And I met a guy called Matt Haynes, who, if any of you people follow on Instagram jersey accounts, he's one of the great designers of jerseys.
Definitely.
So it's good for him too, because he gets to actually see, and he's in the business now of actually making stuff. So we did a pre-sale and it went really well. We even got a retailer. We got a big order from a retailer. Just transferred a few grand from the retailer into my bank account today, which is a good feeling. So when you're a man child, most of your ideas are crap because they're child ideas. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not really. They would have been done if they were going to be successful, right?
Yeah.
So, but every now and then you find enough other man children who are willing to support your man-child idea, and so this is kind of one of those. So the Adelaide Rams thing has gone really well, and so we'll be doing that again. Yeah, I can't. I mean, I can't. You can't buy them. It's off. Like, it's until they come in. They're out of stock now. They come in April, and it's stevemascord.com in Australia and New Zealand. Easy to remember. But yeah. So that's been good.
No, it's awesome, and look, as someone who's older, I cannot wait to.
Yes, thank you.
And I'll definitely be featuring mine on this channel for sure. Cannot wait.
Awesome.
So that'll be good. And look, so you mentioned your book. Where would be the best place to find your book for people who want to buy and read and so on and so forth?
Well, it's easy. Well, it's pretty easy. And I'll do a discount code for people watching the show, which will just the discount code will just be hold the ball. So it's just that you just go to stevemascord.com or shop.stevemascord.com. So stevemascord.com's for Southern Hemisphere and shop.stevemascord.com's for Northern Hemisphere. In both cases, I've made it really easy. You should be able to see the cover as soon as you go to those pages. So I tried to make it so that you didn't have to look after that. And you just enter the discount code hold the ball, one word, and then you'll get $2.50 off in Oz, or you'll get $1.99 off in England. Now, if you're in New Zealand, they are being stocked in New Zealand, but they're being sold through Trade Me and through Fish Pond, which means I can't do discounts. But I guarantee you, it's the cheapest you'll get the book in New Zealand is through me. And there are links in those two addresses I just gave you. You'll say shop New Zealand, and I guarantee, like I know if you buy it on Fish Pond, not from me, it's like $56. If you buy it from me, it's $40. So it's still cheaper, and maybe with the postage from Oz, I think it probably is still the cheapest way. So yeah.
Just quickly as well, and the promo code is one more time just for the viewers here.
Hold the ball.
Hold the ball. Awesome. So again,
no spaces.
No, all right, awesome. So for those of you who'll be watching later on, the promo code for his book is hold the ball, and that's visiting your website. Yes.
Yes, stevemascord.com, or if you're on my end of the world, shop.stevemascord.com.
Awesome. And the promo code is hold the ball, no spaces. Before I let you go, I just want to ask quickly. So, are you an avid follower? Obviously, in the NRL, I take it you are. You still watch the games and all that stuff. Get into it.
Yeah. When I got here, I kind of, because I was like 100-year live a year guy for 10 years.
Yeah.
I went to 1,000 games in 10 years.
Wow.
So when I got here, I kind of thought it was time to sort of take it easy a little bit, and I wasn't sure where I fit in. You know what I mean? I wasn't sure what made me happy as far as rugby league. Did I just want to sit on the couch and watch NRL, or did I want to go to games and have a beer, or did I want to report, or did I want to switch off completely? I was going to say, do I want to follow another sport, but I would never consider that. But and so it's been sometimes it's a complicated relationship we have with the game because things make us angry. Maybe it's rule changes, maybe it's players misbehaving, or maybe it's the administration making decisions we disagree with, or the World Cup being postponed, or my favorite players in jail. I don't know, like whatever. So I'm like everybody else. I kind of struggle with from time to time with things, and I try to express my frustration, by walking away, and then I come back. And so at the moment, I think I'm in a healthy. We went to marriage counselling, rugby league, and myself, and we have a healthy relationship now. I really enjoyed watching the Monday night game last night. But if I don't feel, and that's the other thing. My first book, Touchstones, was a little bit about obsession and about compulsive behaviour. And rugby league is actually very suitable to compulsive behaviour because you can put it in boxes. You can put the home, away, where the game is, and you can be compulsive about it. And you can watch. Yeah. I don't watch the pre-match on Channel 9. I don't like them. I only turn it on. I turn down Fox and I turn up to GB. Like it's kind of like they're compulsive. It's really, really bad for you if you're compulsive. And with me, I lived it in 3 dimensions. So whereas someone who's compulsive might have been able to say, I'm going to switch over from that radio station to that TV station, and then I'm going to watch the Toyota Cup. I would go, I'm going to go to Auckland, and then I'm going to go straight to the airport and catch a flight to Townsville and drive for 7 hours and arrive just before kickoff. So I would take that compulsion into the real world, the 3-dimensional, real world. So I needed to get that out of, I needed to move the other side of the world and leave that behind. And that's kind of what I've done. So I will follow the NRL, and I will watch the All-Stars and stuff. But I'm not going to start 4 days in a row. Get it? Like I'm not going to watch Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and get up at 5 and stuff here. So I'm not going to watch every game. I'm going to the marriage counsellor that rugby league and I went to told us that that you have to do what makes you happy, and I've learned that rugby league's happy whether I'm with it or not, and so I have to be a bit more selfish and go, well, okay, this game's boring me now. It's okay, turn it off.
Yeah. Look, I'm only like that when the Storm play, so that's all right. And just quickly on that, regarding NRL team, I'm assuming you follow the Dragons?
Yeah, no.
No.
No, see, I've not lived in Wollongong since the Dragons have been around. So
Okay.
even though I'm not against the joint venture, I'm not, at all. That'd be stupid. But they don't feel like my team because they weren't there when I was there. So I mean, they feel a little bit like my team. So I do have an emotional attachment to them, but I wouldn't say they're my favorite team. I really don't think I've got one at the moment. No, I mean sometimes I might go for a lot like London because I live here, but no, I go literally because I live here, but I can't say. And I guess I feel the same way I do about the Dragons. I've got a little bit of an affinity with them, but I don't. I always like. I mean, I guess Toulouse this year will be a team I follow. I was really big into Toronto, obviously, because they were the most audacious, ridiculous expansion team in the history of the world.
Yes.
And it turns out my wife sort of knew the owner's sister really well, so we became quite good friends with the Argyles. I've got David gave me a signed guitar that he must have bought when he was drunk at a lunch. He gave it to me for my birthday. I was going to show you. Oh, here, I'll show you. One sec.
All right. Oh wow, nice.
But yeah. So I was, and you might say that, and this is interesting too, mate. You might say, and some people watching go, well, no wonder you were soft on Toronto. It was payola and all sorts of stuff. But that's the thing. During the period Toronto were in the team, I didn't want to be a journalist.
Yeah.
I wanted to be blind. I wanted to be biased. I wanted to know what it was like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've been a journalist since I was 18, since I got it out of high school. Had it drummed into me to be impartial and objective.
Mm-hmm.
And in the years that Toronto were in the comp and I moved over here, I'm like, bugger it. I'm going to be biased. I'm not going to be objective at all. I'm not, and it was fun. I can have a flag behind me, in my lounge room and stuff. So, but in answer to your question, I don't have a favourite team at the moment. It's position vacant.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, just in case you do need a bit of a helping hand, there's a team that are, that over in Queensland at the moment from New Zealand. Just thought I'd throw it in there.
I love the Warriors. I love the Warriors, mate. I mean, if you're there for a child's birth, you sort of you're bonded for life, aren't you? So I was there that night against the Broncos. So they'll always be special. Yeah.
I was about what they debuted in '95. I think I was about 3 or 4 years old. So no memories there. But and just quickly, before we wind this up, so just Toronto Wolfpack, are you excited about the NARL and then playing there? What are your thoughts there, just quickly?
By the way, I'm not in a hurry.
Okay,
it's fine. But when the NARL, I'm kind of with the. It's finally a comment. The NARL, didn't take off last year, and clubs left because they said they didn't get money they were promised, and obviously there was COVID and all that. But I'm cautious about it, So I'm kind of like I'm wait and see. I try not to get excited about things that may not happen. So there's a governance review happening in America at the moment, and we'll see what comes out of that. I wish them enormous luck. I hope it does happen. But we've kind of been disappointed previously, so I can't get excited about it because I need to know what's going to happen.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I'm in the same boat as you. I was really hyped when obviously they first announced it, and things were sort of falling together, and then it fell apart as quickly as it was formed. Unfortunately. What are your thoughts on California Rugby League?
Oh, this sounds like a plant. This sounds like Tom's told you to ask this question, has he?
Oh, no. Tom hasn't, but I just thought I brought up NRL as well. Bring up.
They're doing everything from the grassroots up, like Monty is in Cleveland. So I think there's that's good, But even there's been like there was a brawl at their grand final. Was it grand final? There's a brawl, game last year, and then a club got kicked out, and then got replaced by a club that was connected to one of the investors. And pardon me. So even though it seems pure, it still kind of has that rugby league kind of overtones to it, where people sort of can't get on. But yeah, no, I think it's great, and I think it'd be great if they with this governance review, if they can bring everyone back under one roof, and they can sort of have a conference system and get the best out of everybody, which is not happening at the moment,
Yeah, understood for sure. Who do you follow in the Super League? What team do you barrack for?
Yeah, well, probably this year Toulouse. Yeah, I'd say Toulouse.
Yeah, Toulouse. Yeah, you mentioned that. Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, yeah. I like London. I mean, yeah, I like London Broncos, and it's, as I said, it's that rugby league kind of thing sometimes where their personalities, you can't help but have personality clashes and stuff in rugby league, but clubs outlive people, so you shouldn't let that sort of. And Toulouse, it seemed to be Toulouse with Cedric and those guys and Carlos, that seemed to be a fantastic club, and they don't seem to have recruited as well. And then there's Jono Fort, who's left because of the sort of vax thing. So I think they're going to have a tough year. But I hope they stay up. And so it's Toulouse this year.
Awesome. And just a hypothetical one, but if you were in charge of the NRL and there was expansion talks on the table, who are you expanding next and why?
I'd definitely go back to Perth, because TV time slots, geographical footprint, there's no, I can't, I mean, juniors, I mean, they actually do play rugby league at a good level there.
Yes.
I can't believe that the CEO of the chairman of a national sports league would say that a domestic flight is too long on a plane, which he did say a couple of years ago. It's just mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. I mean, anyway.
And with that in mind, would you call them the Western Reds or just a new name?
Well, yeah, that's sort of down to the consortium, but the WARL would probably be involved. That is the thing, I guess. The WARL is now NRL Western Australia.
Correct.
So they'd obviously need some outside investment. I don't think it's down. I mean, I don't think the NRL said call yourselves the Dolphins. They just did. So it would be up to the consortium what they were called. I mean, as a fan, I'd like them to be called the Reds. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, awesome. And just quickly as well, for those who are viewing, again, feel free to post any questions and stuff like that. I've got Steve Mascord here who spoke about his book, and we're just having a general yarn. And that is his book there for you guys again. And please visit his website as well. And the promo code is Hold the Ball, no spaces, for anyone who's joined us as well. And just on top of that as well, did you have any thoughts on who may win the NRL this year? Did you think about it in that much in depth or not really?
I'm the last person to think about that, but I'm the last person every year who thinks about that. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, I kind of the Roosters. I like the Roosters in Souths pretty much every year. They're going to be up near the top, aren't they? Interesting to see how Broncos go with Adam Reynolds. be excited to see that. Melbourne are going to struggle with not this year so much, but with the rise of the Dolphins, aren't they? Like they're going to it's another. I mean, they've had that Queensland recruitment area ever since they were conceived, and now there's another team in Queensland. It's going to take a lot of guile on the part of Craig Bellamy and the recruitment people down there. They even stole their CEO, So the Broncos did anyway. So that'll be interesting to see how Melbourne kind of hold up under the pressure of the Dolphins. But yeah, look, it's easy. I used to always just say Broncos every year because I didn't have to think, and now the I don't have to think team is the Roosters, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's strong every year.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, your pick is the Roosters. Just a question to one of the viewers here. In your opinion, who is the best rugby? I'm assuming rugby league player in the world now. Do you have like an opinion on that, or who was your GOAT? Who's your greatest of all time?
The greatest player of all time I ever saw was Andrew Johns, and there's no doubt about that. Wally Lewis, Peter Sterling would be the others in my top three. And the greatest player today, wow, I would say James Tedesco is right up there. I would say Kalen Ponga is right up there. I would say man of the moment from this morning's press conference, James Taumalolo is right up there. Yeah, so they'd be guys that come to mind. Yeah.
Awesome. Look, I think we'll probably just wrap this up for now, but I've enjoyed it. But look, I understand that you're into rock music, so I don't want to leave without asking a question that does pertain to rock music. So what are your favorite sort of rock songs out there? Please feel free to go.
My favorite rock song of all time is actually not from one of my favorite bands. I think this sort of changes too, even though I'm an old man, I still don't have this one set in stone. But Mary Jane's Last Dance by Tom Petty is pretty close to my favorite song, and I also like Johnny Cash's version of Hurt by Nine Inch Nails. So, and they're not my favorite bands because my favorite bands are kind of have longer hair and smellier. I'm like Kiss, AC/DC, Van Halen are my favorite bands. But they're my favorite songs. Yeah, and Rock's Not Dead. Maori All Stars versus Indigenous predictions. I'd say the Maoris. Sounds to me like Indigenous boys are losing a few players. From what I've been reading, there's players pulling out of their team. So I'll be going with the Maori boys.
Awesome. There you have it. Before we go, how can people sort of reach you via social media and all that stuff?
If a digital footprint was a carbon footprint, I'd have Greenpeace outside my door every day. I've got a big digital footprint, Steve Mascord is easy on Twitter, on Facebook /Steve Mascord. This is boring. And my Instagram is Stevis, STEAVIS. And what else? You can email me at the moment because we're talking about the book. It's touchstonesbook at gmail.com, stevemascord.com. My rugby league website is rugbyleaguehub.com. And yeah, that's enough, isn't it? I don't want to bore people with too many, but yeah, I'd like to hear from anybody with any suggestions or anything. I don't mind trolls, whatever. Send me an email. And any questions about the book, any things in the book that you and also this is important, is that at twotribes.substack.com I actually write about 1997 every single day. And so for 62 Aussie dollars, you get my first book, my second book. You don't pay any postage, and you get there's a post every single day up until December 19 this year when we finish, when the NRL's 25 years old. So that is really the best value, I guess, if you live in New Zealand because of the postage costs and stuff. that I know you don't. You live in Brizzy, but I keep seeing the Warriors thing behind you. You're sure you got lots of viewers in New Zealand. So yeah, 62 Aussie dollars, and you get the book sent to you, and you get the post every day. And yeah.
Yeah, look, just quickly as well, just to correct you there. I live in South Australia, where the Rams are from. So
that's right. Yeah. You said Queensland earlier, though, didn't you? What did you?
no,
No. What did everyone know why you live? I'm running out a bit of battery here, but
no, you're okay.
Why do you live in South Australia?
Look, long story short, the folks decided to move here when I was young, so I've been here since basically. So, but look, I love it in South Australia. Gets pretty hot too, but it's a great state and a state for rugby league, I reckon.
Do you get to watch much professional rugby league or?
Oh look, you know, on KO, and I mean, even a few years ago, we had the State of Origin come over. We've also had the Roosters and Storm play in Adelaide Oval as well. So these things like that, I am personally myself hoping to work with the SANRL board, just trying to do some promos and hopefully get in the mix there. But we'll see how that sort of goes as well. Guys, so this was Steve Mascord as well. Please give him a follow. A great dude, and the positive as well is his book, Two Tribes. On top of that as well, he is an expansionist, and I have a soft spot for expansionists. I'm an expansionist myself. Bring back the Rams, bring back the Western Reds, bring them all back. But again, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you again for this. And just remember, guys, go to his website. Please visit him. And that is, just remind us again one more time.
SteveMascord.com or shop.stevemascord.com.
Awesome. And for the book as well, the promo code is Hold the Ball, no spaces.
That's right. And you have to put apply code to get the discount. Yep. Okay.
Apply code, Hold the Ball, no spaces. And any last words before we let you go?
No, just thanks everybody for supporting the book so far. And I'll be back at the end of the year and hoping to go to every place there was a professional club in 1997 to do a little launch. And that includes Adelaide. So there you go.
Oh, that'll be cool. And also as well, thanks again for this yarn, for this chat. It's been an absolute awesome experience. And again, guys, just remember Steve Mascord. Please follow him there. And yeah, thank you again. And guys, I think we can all say it. Steve Mascord knows how to hold the ball. Take it easy. See you guys next time.
See you later. Bye.